Good afternoon, members of the Committee of Justice, members of Parliament, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, those listening via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to this Committee of Justice meeting number 3 for today, Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. We have established a quorum of 8 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. You may be seated. I have received notice of absence from the following committee members: MP Melissa Gomes, MP Viren Kotay, and MP Franklin Myers. Are there any notifications from the members of Parliament? I'm seeing MP La Cruz. MP La Cruz, you have the floor.
No. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, it took me literally about 2.5 to 3 hours to leave the St. Peter's area and arrive in Phillipsburg today. And we don't even want to talk about how long it took yesterday because I literally got to Parliament at about 12 o'clock. Madam Chair Lady, the question is real simple. What is government doing right now concerning the traffic in the St. Peter's area? Before, you would see police officers directing traffic at key locations and points, and that moved traffic a little. There was also a situation where they would block off 2 locations by the bridge where cars would come in and create even more congestion. Madam Chair Lady, I do understand that it's raining and the weather isn't nice, but at the end of the day, staying home and people that have to drop their kids off to school can't reach to work is unacceptable. And the story with the roads ain't fixed and it have potholes, Madam Chair Lady, right? That is rubbish because it always have traffic and this just make it worse. What is the plan of government? And we want to know, not yesterday, we want something done today because tomorrow morning we can't go through this again. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you for your notification, MP La Cruz. I now give the floor to MP Doran for his notification.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good morning to my colleague. Good afternoon, sorry, to my colleagues and to the listening and viewing public. Madam Chair Lady, it was a conscious decision of mine to not make any negative comments based on the modus operandi of the government during this last couple of days with respect to how the communication was handled with respect to the weather and the flooding and everything. Because I came out of that hot seat, so I know exactly how it is. However, Madam Chair, given the most recent, I would say, excuse by the Minister of Vromi in terms of saying that, yeah, we're going to change how the buildings and different things, so looking for ways and means to justify not communicating to the public, I have a serious concern with that point is. I see where the minister said that while this will mean that in both cases for public and private land, you won't be able to build as you wish, the limitation and potential increased cost of building are outweighed by public safety and a peace of mind it will bring to the population as a whole. The impact of the rain on the homes and the infrastructure and the economy is a testament to the fact that tough decisions has to be made that will drive up construction costs. Madam Chair, for me, it is as if the minister is playing monkey in the middle with the people of St. Martin. The reason why I say that is because there are hundreds of people that are by the notary right now waiting to close, whether on government land, whether on private land. And for me, the minister should communicate what the idea is. The only thing that the tool that the minister has is the building code. So therefore, to the government, please let us not play games with the people. Let us do what we have to do, communicate to the people thoroughly, and let it be known. The minister seems to be MIA. I don't know what is the reason, but I look forward to at least hearing from the ministry on how they plan to move forward with these things. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, MP Duran. I would like to remind the members of parliament that notifications are meant for short, brief remarks. So I would like to just friendly remind the members of parliament that the notification should be used for that purpose. I now give the floor to MP Otley for his notification. MP Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good day to the viewing and listening public, my honorable colleagues. Let me start by saying Happy International Men's Day to all the men in here and those who are viewing around the country and around the world. And thank you, Madam Chair, for my snacks. I would like to piggyback off of my colleague. Basically, it's not to come with negative connotation against the government, but to encourage communication. And I'm glad that my colleague, MP Duran, pointed out particularly the Minister of Romy. I know beforehand, the Ministry of Romy used to be very reactive and proactive immediately after a storm. Like minutes after, we would see excavators on the road, we would see district cleaning going on. And I think that the Minister of Romy has been silent. People have been experiencing flooding. People are actually losing their personal items and don't know where to start. I myself have been a victim of a mudslide recently and don't even know where to start. So I think communication is key. And by the way, I would just like to notify the minister, the ministry, and everyone at large that it is forecasted to rain for the rest of the week again. So this will not stop. So we need some type of way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Otley. I'm seeing there are no other notifications. We now go over to agenda point number 1, incoming documents. Proposal, and number 2, proposal for a roundtable addressing the rising crime, suicides, and increasing violence within our schools. IS number 2024-2025, dated October 28, 2024. We now go over to agenda point number 1, incoming documents. All members have received the list of incoming documents for this committee from the start of this parliamentary year, 2024-2025. And the proposals for further handling. We received the proposal on the 28th of October, IS number 2016, from MP Roseburg, request for a roundtable discussion by the Committee of Justice on the rising crime, suicide, and violence in school. Note that this agenda point number 2 of this meeting, in which it will be further handled today. To which member can I give the floor in regards to this topic? Just to clarify, this is in regards to the incoming documents. After that, we'll go over to the agenda point itself. So is it in regards to the incoming documents? Okay. If not, I'm seeing that that's not the case. The list and the proposal for handling are approved. We go over to agenda point number 2. Proposal for a roundtable addressing the rising crime, suicide, and increasing violence within our school. IS number 2016-2024-2025, dated October 28, 2024. On October 28, 2024, Parliament received a letter from my person, MP S.D.M. Roseburg, registered under IS 2016-2024-2025, with a request for a meeting to discuss a proposal for a roundtable addressing the rising crime, suicides, and increasing violence within our schools. I will now go over to discussing this proposal in more details. To ensure a comprehensive and well-informed dialogue, I propose to invite different key stakeholders to participate in a roundtable discussion. First of all, I would like to make a little adjustment to the proposal where I requested, I will go over the proposal and then I will make the adjustment in regards to it. So to invite the following stakeholders: the Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, and Justice, the Justice Minister, as well, to provide insights on the policies and measures being implemented from a governmental perspective to address the pressing issues. Additionally, also a request to have representatives from the Department of Education, Department of Youth, and the Inspection Divisions under the Ministry of Education to share their expertise on educational policies, youth development programs, and school safety monitoring. Also, the Ministry of VSA to contribute insights in the public health and social services perspectives, focusing on the impact of mental health, family support services, and social development initiatives in preventing youth violence and suicide. Also, further request of the attendance of Mrs. Chantal Groeneveld, Division Head of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs, to discuss community-based support structures, family intervention strategies, and outreach programs. It's also the request to request the presence of the Chief of Police, Carl John, from the KPSM to provide an overview of the current crime trends, law enforcement strategies, and challenges in addressing criminal activity, particularly under the youth. Additionally, also, the request is to have the head of the juvenile department of the KPSM, Mrs. Dientje Muller, to contribute insights on juvenile crime trends, intervention strategies, and the role of the police in working with young offenders and preventing recidivism. Also, a representative from the Public Prosecutor Office of St. Martin is requested to provide perspective on the legal consequences of youth crime, the prosecution process, and the importance of legal deterrence in reducing crime rates among minors, specifically the youth prosecutor, as well to discuss cooperative efforts with schools and youth services. Also to invite the clinic coordinator and psychologist of the Mental Health Foundation, Mrs. Tanika Lambert, to offer a psychological perspective on the mental health aspects related to crime, suicide, and school violence. Other than that, also the director and senior counselor of Turning Point, Dr. Tashina Thomas Maku, in regards to providing insights into the connection between substance abuse, crime, and behavioral issues in youth, and to recommend preventive and treatment strategies to address these challenges. The department head of the Court of Guardianship, Mrs. Kimberly Brown, to share expertise on child protection and legal consideration impacting vulnerable youth, and additionally to request specifically the presence of Mr. Mashano Geëerd, Section Head Youth Probation Officer at the Court of Guardianship, to offer insights on the juvenile justice system and discuss interventions and legal protections that support at-risk youth in making better life choices. We continue with the head of the Stichting Justitiële Inrichtingen St. Martin, Mrs. Cynthia Filemon, to discuss the role of juvenile justice services in prevention and intervention efforts. There's also a representative from the secondary to high schools in St. Martin, such as a social worker, psychologist, our student counselor, to share observations and expertise regarding student behavior, mental health issues, and school violence, as well as to discuss potential preventative measures. And other than that, also community role models, respected figures within the community who can speak to the positive influence of mentorships and role modeling for young individuals. Their contribution could include sharing success stories, discussing the impact of community-based programs, and suggesting ways to engage youth in constructive activities. The involvement of these individuals is crucial for providing the committee with a well-rounded understanding of the current situation and for identifying practical solutions to these pressing issues. We all know that there are different reports written in regards to this, but what are the practical solutions to those pressing issues? I believe that this discussion will greatly contribute to developing an effective and coordinated approach with the different stakeholders that can better safeguard the well-being of our children and the wider community. So those are the different stakeholders, and the idea is to have those different stakeholders, for the community to receive input from those different stakeholders, and after receiving the input, the government, so the different ministers which I have mentioned, can then be asked on their position, and then a different meeting can be organized once we have received the input from the stakeholders. And we can divide, depending on how the members see it, we can divide those different meetings in blocks. But before reaching to that point, and I would like to know to which member can I currently give the floor? Based on the list, I'm seeing MP Doran. MP Doran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I can support this initiative wholeheartedly because I see the need for it. We've seen the rise in crime over the last couple of years, and we see that things are becoming more extreme. So I'm definitely in favor of a setup like this, because I always believe in exploring different ways and means in order to reach our ultimate goal. However, there's a couple of organizations that I would like to see added to this proposal moving forward. I would like to see that the newly started victim support services is also added, so that they can share what they have experienced thus far and also their expertise. Also, I would like to see the Miss Lally Youth Detention Center, a representative from there, whether the director attend this. And lastly, the Have Bay, the Huis van Bewaring. Although that might be after the fact, after something has happened, I think that the role that they play in, or should play in rehabilitation, is a pivotal role, and should also be included in such a setting, so that we can have a broad scope of different experiences, different expertise, in order to reach the ultimate goal, which is bettering our policies or providing ways and means to keep our at-risk youth or at-risk young adults in check, in order to make sure that they have a fruitful future. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that this proposal can be considered.
Thank you, MP Doran. Thank you for your input. It's nice to see that other organizations were also mentioned. I also have to say that including the Miss Lally Center and also the Point Blanche Prison was also a thought of mine. I also was thinking, okay, practically seeing that there are a lot of people mentioned, and most of the time the Miss Lally Center and the Point Blanche Prison deal with the incarceration. I, first instance, decided not to include them at this point, but I do believe that they can play an important role in this discussion to explain as well, once you are incarcerated, what kind of effect that can have and how we can avoid that from happening, what is needed. So I am positive also with the victim support services. I also see the need of adding those, so we can discuss that after if the other members also agree with those pointers. I now give the floor to MP Otley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I agree full-heartedly with MP Duran for the fact that prison is supposed to be a rehabilitation center, a rehabilitation aspect, because for the fact that we don't customarily offer life. So for the fact that we don't customarily offer life sentence means that these persons will be reintroduced back to society. The problem we are having is we have a high, well, probably the data will have to show, but a high amount of reoccurring criminals. People who are released are often introduced back to the system. And that's why it's important, because something somewhere is going wrong. This is a great initiative. It has my support as well, once those aspects are added. But I just don't want this to be with the size of this meeting, it definitely won't be a one-time meeting. It'll end up being something like a seminar. But I would like to see if possibly the legal aspect on how an MOU can come out of this at the end. I know when I was in Minister of VSI, we would have these large groups. At the end of the seminar, we would create an MOU on the direction and the way forward, more of a commitment to the people of St. Martin. So if we can look into that legal trajectory on how we can establish this and create an MOU to move forward, I am greatly in support of this initiative.
Thank you, MP Otley. Thank you for your input. Seeing that there's a large group of different stakeholders, we will discuss afterwards in what way we can divide those groups in maybe 3 blocks, depending on the input of the members, so that it can be a constructive meeting. I now give the floor to MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. MP Westcott-Williams, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and good afternoon. Madam Chair Lady, it's actually what you mentioned that I wanted to, while totally in support of the proposal for the Parliament of St. Martin via this committee, to meet with all of those involved, as you have named them, as some suggestions have been made to add some persons and or organization, and for the Parliament to form an idea about the issue at hand. So I completely support that we should be able to get that information directly from some of the stakeholders involved. However, I do believe that we need to, and you as chair can do that, caucus with the government about the approach that we want to take. One, so that stakeholders do not misunderstand what the Parliament wants and what we are able to do. 1. 2, let us make sure that what it is that we're asking of the stakeholders and make sure that that is formulated clearly in terms of what we are expecting of the stakeholders. Much of it, Madam Chair Lady, because I am sure, just like I have, many, including yourself, of my colleagues have as well, we realize that in fighting crime, many of our organizations face the lack of resources. That's a fact. And so we need to keep this in the back of our minds as we speak to these different organizations and persons. You speak to the Court of Guardianship. You speak to the police. Most of these organizations have plans in place for the betterment of their functioning, of their assistance, whatever it is, but lack resources. In addition to that, many individuals have been named in your summary to be approached who are civil servants, and thus the minister in question would have to be contacted about these civil servants coming and sharing from their perspective the information that the Parliament wants to get. So I think we need to carefully, following the approval of having this roundtable, establish what our objective is as Parliament, 1, and as you already mentioned, Madam Chair Lady, how we're going to get all of these persons in a timely fashion to, at the end of what? 3 months, whatever the case may be, come up with whatever the result of these meetings that we would like to have. So, Madam Chair Lady, I think we need to do some scheduling, and we need to think of the objective. This is a matter that basically the Parliament, via this committee, would like to get information to formulate a position. However, in executing that, whether as a colleague suggested via MOU, we have to realize and be realistic that it is something with the government. Without them, we can't, we will be bringing the people and the persons in here, and it will be good to hear them. I don't want to see a repeat, Madam Chair Lady, of, for example, we have had similar sessions with, I can mention a few, in the area of those involved with special ed. And we brought in the persons, many of them, and they shared their concerns and their intentions and their objectives. But at the end of the day, that kind of just fizzled out. And I want to make sure that what we do, it is done with an objective in mind and that we can get something out of it. In addition to that, we have had, for example, a sort of a round table session on the matter of our position in the kingdom government. And there too, we heard experts on that issue, and that is something really for Parliament to formulate a position on. Where do we stand? And that too remained hanging. I know the former chairlady of that particular committee asking and requesting that we do something with the information that we collected, but for different reasons that didn't pan out. So I just want to make sure, especially when we're talking about matters like the crime on St. Martin, that we know what it is we want to get out as a parliament, and in doing that, we take into account that, I don't want to say unfortunately, I just want to say in reality, we need to make sure that we can get the government moving in the same direction that we feel we should move in when it comes to fighting crime. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott-Williams, and thank you for your input. It has been noted down as well, and I would like to give the floor to MP Brug. MP Brug, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. For a brief second there, the speaker before me stated so much that I almost wanted to, not to speak anymore because she hit the nail on the head. When I go through this document, to be honest with you, it is YSAO. It's an organization that practically exists. The stakeholders that are mentioned here, they usually have meetings on a monthly basis. Well, sometimes a monthly basis, or sometimes at least 3 or 4 times per year. It all depends on how the scheduling works. But I can tell you, as part of that YSAO organization, when I was a Inspectorate of Education, a truancy officer, which I noticed they're not here, but I guess they'll fall under the Minister of Education. One of the key issues that we had then, and when I'm in contact with them, that they still have now, is that the executive branch, the decision makers, are not actively participating in those meetings. So there's a lot of things that hamper them from making the right. Let me put it this way. There's a lot of things that hamper them, and as the speaker before me said, shortage of manpower, certain laws needs to be amended. There are so much different things that I know for sure that they are going to welcome this meeting. I know they're going to support this, they're going to welcome this meeting, but we have to be very careful as to what they can expect from this meeting as well. Because as I stated as well in one of my previous meetings, usually at the beginning of every school year, there's a general meeting with all these stakeholders, including the schools, including a lot of stakeholders. The agenda is always the same, the result is always the same, but the actions are always lacking. So that's why it's always the same issues coming up with no solutions. And that's a bit frustrating for those that are participating. And that was on one level. So now if we're taking it to a different level, I do agree with the speaker before me. We have to be very, very clear what we can offer them, even if it comes in the sense of making sure that whatever the executive branch needs, whatever support the executive branch needs from this floor of Parliament, that we will ensure to give them that support that they need in order that they can continue, or in order for them to address the issues that our young people are facing today. So I will surely support this, and I know for sure a lot of the persons that are mentioned here are eager, very eager, to attend such a roundtable discussion. The only thing we have to be careful, the only thing that we really have to do is make sure that we can offer them a positive result and that it can show some form of productivity at the end of the roundtable. So that would be all my comments for now, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Brug, for your input based on what you brought forward. And before going to the other MP that would like to have the floor, based on the research that I have done, I also am aware of the JCO overleg. And based on the research, it came to my understanding that the different stakeholders indeed would welcome this proposal and would love to have that out-of-the-box thinking, especially seeing the current resources that we do not have at this time. So to have this roundtable meeting, it's the idea to have the out-of-the-box thinking and to come to a solution if it's temporarily until we have the resources needed for topics like this. I now give the floor to MP Otley. MP Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, when I listen to the speakers before me, it makes me feel good that we are in the same direction. And MP Westcott said something very good, very important, not good. Important is that to ensure somehow to get the government on the same path or same vision path as this Parliament. And I say that to say this, that when we speak as Parliament and we speak here, we have immunity. But what I notice is a trend of you have a minister, which is supposed to be basically the highest body, the highest authority. And when the minister decides to take an action, no, I know that the minister, Parliament is higher than the minister, but I mean within the judicial realm. And the minister decides to take an action, if the OM or the prosecutor does not agree with such action, we are seeing now the minister being penalized. And I say this to say, when you read in articles with the Netherlands are closing prisons. They're believing in different ways of rehabilitation, different ways and forms of punishment. Now, if you do the crime, you have to do the time. That is so. But again, within our, when you say prison capacity, prison situation, prison conditions, right? You are forcing persons to live like animals. And then you release them into society after 10, 20 years of just captivity, the same thing every day, with not slowly integrating them back into society. What do we expect? And I say that to say that the importance of having the minister involved is extremely important, because there were policies before that was taken away by ministers, which would allow them to be work release, integration, all of these things that we see. Even in the Netherlands, when you are approaching your time, you can go home for a weekend, come back. All of this is for a reason. So I think it is very important for us to take control of our mantle, and definitely within this meeting, we can decipher who has the correct authority where and what direction we want to go. So I say that to say, while we may want to go a different direction, we often see that the minister sometimes wants to agree with us, Parliament, rightfully so, but then you have a prosecutor office that is threatening or looming over the minister, forcing them to make another decision. So that is very important for us to decipher while we're having all of these meetings as well.
Thank you, MP Otley. I also agree that rehabilitation and resocialization should be part of the Point Branch Prison and Miss Lally Center, so that inmates can come back better into the society. Seeing that there is another member of Parliament that would like to speak, I now give the floor to MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. MP Westcott-Williams, you have the floor.
Thank you once again, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, in the preparations for these meetings to be held with the stakeholders, I want to also add, if there are any recent reports from any of them that would give us, whether it be information, that would give us statistics, it would be helpful. Madam Chair Lady, by now you would know my position on the issue of policies. I think that in many areas, it is not a lack of policies. it is an issue of enforcement. And if we don't take that into consideration, my late mother would have said we taken water to the sea. And then sometimes she would add in a basket. And I really mean that because one of my colleagues referred to the recent situation that we have experienced with the heavy rainfall and the subsequent damage to homes and roads and to the implications for traffic. I could go on and on and on. But Madam Chair Lady, this Parliament is in possession of a policy plan, a zoning policy plan. And in that, what we are facing today was predicted. And measures had to be taken. And I haven't seen them started. I haven't seen these measures taken. So again, we attain that we don't have things to say what we supposed to be doing. It's a matter of getting them done. And so to repeat my question, if there are any reports, I am sure they are. It is just like the issue of immigration that is an ongoing discussion. And then in a meeting in Parliamericas, as we were discussing migration, immigration and immigration, and there is a report on migration needs assessment for St. Martin. Where is that report? Where are these policies? I think that actually when we see what is needed in order for the execution of these policies, we too often tend to put them aside. So if there are any such documentations that any of these stakeholders, especially the groups of stakeholders, ministries, etc., I would ask that these be shared in preparation for the meeting and discussions that we will be having. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott Williams. I'm happy to see that we are having a constructive discussion in regards to this topic. Before coming to a decision, I would like to adjourn for 5 minutes. Meeting adjourned for 5 minutes. So members, I hereby reopen the Committee of Justice meeting. The decision of the committee is the following. The objective is to address the urgent and concerning issues currently affecting our society, namely the rising crime, the recent tragic suicides, and the increasing violence within our schools, and to formulate a position as a committee and a parliament so that we can further deliberate with government and ask government to act based on the information received from the participating stakeholders. The stakeholders will be the list from MP Roseburg, minus the ministers, but those in the field. Additionally to that, Victim Support Services, Miss Lali Youth Detention Center, and the Point Blanche Huis van Bewaring, plus the Inspectorate of Education. The stakeholders will be requested to prepare a position on paper on this topic and to provide any recent reports. There will be 3 blocks. Block number 1 with the stakeholders in regards to the rising crime. Block number 2, the mental health related stakeholders, also in connection to suicide. And block number 3 will be in regards to the increasing violence within our schools. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to a... Before I'm coming to an end of the meeting, I'm requesting the Committee of Justice if they agree with the decision of the committee and the proposal of the committee. My apologies. Hereby, the members agree to the proposal, and therefore now we have come to an end of this meeting, and I thank all the members for the participation, and I hereby close this meeting. Meeting closed.